walking off the court at halftime saying Victor Wembanyama ain't got flipping nothing for me. And all of that being accurate, I don't think they would have believed it. Okay? This transformation has not been sudden because he's been working towards this his whole life, but it has been stunning. And he's right. Those numbers that we just showed, he's kicking Wembanyama's ass in this series. And it is absolutely the difference what's going on right now. And if he can do it for a couple more days, he's going to the Hall of Fame.
Game 5, NBA Finals, San Antonio, 94-90, final buzzer. And there's Karl-Anthony Towns, 7 feet tall, tears streaming down his face, teammates jumping on him from every direction, confetti raining down holding the Larry O'Brien trophy. Let that sink in for a second. The same guy they called soft for a decade. The same guy Espen debated into the ground every single playoff season. The same guy Minnesota fans watched quietly pack his bags while shaking their heads and wondering was he ever really that guy. 2026 NBA champion. And here's the thing that nobody's really talking about. The path to that trophy? It almost didn't happen. Not because of talent. KAT always had the talent. It almost didn't happen because of a story that started way before New York. A story that almost defined him in the worst possible way. So let's go back to the beginning. Because to understand how big this moment is, you need to understand how close Kate came to being remembered very, very differently. 2015, Minnesota Timberwolves, #1 overall pick.
The Minnesota Timberwolves select Karl-Anthony Towns from the University of Kentucky.
And from literally day one, you knew this kid was not normal. He wins Rookie of the Year. Almost immediately, people start having a conversation that sounds almost disrespectful to every other big man who ever played is Karl-Anthony Towns. The greatest shooting center we've ever seen? Not great for his position. Not impressive for his age. Just flat out great. Against everyone. At everything. By year 2, the numbers were doing things big men simply weren't supposed to do. Over 20 points a night. Double-digit rebounds. Shooting nearly 40% from 3 as a 7-footer. Elite mid-range efficiency. Dominant post-game. Face-up, back to the basket. Pick and pop, pick and roll. He could do all of it. Multiple All-Star appearances. Comparisons to Dirk Nowitzki. Conversations about where he'd rank all time if the career played out the way his talent suggested it should. On paper, Karl-Anthony Towns was everything you wanted in a franchise cornerstone. But here's where things get interesting. Because for all of that, for every highlight, every all-star nod, every analyst calling him a generational talent, there was one number that kept resetting the entire conversation: playoff wins. And that number was not good. Real quick, if you're new here, this is Scary Zone. We tell NBA stories the right way. No fluff, no filler, just real basketball. Hit subscribe and the bell, because what we're about to get into with this playoff run, you don't want to miss it. Let's go. This is the chapter of KAT's career that everyone remembers. And honestly, it's the one that made this championship feel so significant. Year after year in Minnesota, the team loses. Early exits, play-in heartbreaks, seasons that went nowhere. And every single time, the same questions came flooding back. Is he tough enough? Is he a real leader? Does he actually make winning plays when winning is on the line? The soft label got attached to him early, and I want to be clear in this league. Once that label sticks, it follows you everywhere. Media, social media, other locker rooms. It becomes the lens through which every single thing you do gets judged. And the criticism wasn't just coming from trolls. It was coming from respected analysts, former players, people who watch basketball for a living. The argument was specific. When playoff pressure was real, KAT disappeared. Defensively, he got exploited by quicker bigs. Offensively, he'd go cold in close games. His body language in losses gave people ammunition. There were moments where the effort just looked optional. And that's not even the craziest part. Because here's the thing. Nobody wants to say a lot of that criticism wasn't entirely fair. Minnesota was never properly built around him. The roster construction was wrong. The coaching decisions were questionable. He was essentially asked to be the franchise player on a team that was never actually built to win. But fairness doesn't write legacies. Results do. And the result was the same every year. No rings, no deep playoff runs. Just the same debate, on repeat, getting louder every season, until the Knicks made a phone call.
Timberwolves fans are still in shock tonight. Star player Karl-Anthony Towns has been traded to the New York Knicks. In exchange, the Wolves are picking up 2 players from New York and a first-round draft pick.
The trade drops, and immediately the basketball world loses its mind. Karl-Anthony Towns to New York for Julius Randle, Dante DiVincenzo, and a first-round pick. And the reactions were exactly what you'd expect. Half the league thought the Knicks overpaid. Half thought they'd just unlocked something real. The debate was everywhere. But forget the trade value conversation for a second, because there was a bigger question underneath all of it. Can Karl-Anthony Towns handle New York? Because this isn't Minnesota. This isn't a market where you can have a quiet, bad stretch and let it blow over. This is Madison Square Garden, the most famous arena in the world, a city where the media never sleeps, the fans never forget, and your every move gets dissected in real time. Players have come to New York with more hype and wilted. Promising careers have gone sideways under that spotlight. MSG has a way of exposing exactly who you are. And the basketball question was just as sharp. Can KAT actually coexist next to Jalen Brunson? 2 players who need the ball. 2 guys whose best stuff happens when the offense runs through them. On paper, there were real spacing concerns, real fit questions. Nobody saw this coming, but the early part of the season actually gave the doubters some fuel. There were games where the Knicks looked disjointed, games where KAT looked like he was still figuring out where he fit, and every single time that happened, the told you so crowd was ready. What happened next changed everything. Somewhere in the middle of this season, something shifted, and I don't mean KAT suddenly turned into a different player overnight. I mean the kind of shift that happens quietly, and then you look up one day and realize the whole picture has changed. The defense first. Because that was always the thing. That was always the ammunition. And this year, it just looked different. He was moving his feet on the perimeter. He was protecting the rim without gambling. He was calling out coverages, talking to teammates, making the right rotations. The effort was visible in a way it hadn't been before. Then the Brunson chemistry clicked. And when it clicked, it was genuinely beautiful basketball. Brunson driving and kicking to KAT, spotting up on the wing. KAT posting up and finding cutters. Brunson using KAT as a screener, and then watching defenses collapse, trying to figure out who to guard. They became one of the most difficult duos in the Eastern Conference to plan for. But here's what mattered most. KT started playing like a guy who understood exactly what this moment meant. Not a guy proving something, a guy who'd already accepted the challenge and was quietly winning it. The Knicks finished as a top 3 seed in the East. The regular season said, this team is for real. But the playoffs would say everything else.
Problem, fouling him, sending him to the...
Round 1. Atlanta Hawks. KAT comes out physical, aggressive, and dominant from Game 1. Sets the tone. Knicks win the series 4-2, and it's not really as close as that sounds. Round 2. Philadelphia 76ers. This is where people started paying real attention. The Knicks don't just beat Philly, they sweep them. 4 games, 0 losses. KAT is an absolute problem in the paint. The Sixers throw different looks at him, different coverages, different bodies, and none of it works. He just keeps producing. Eastern Conference Finals. Cleveland Cavaliers. Another sweep. Let me say that again. The Knicks swept their way through the second round and the conference finals. Back-to-back sweeps. 8 wins, 0 losses across 2 series. The New York Knicks are going to the NBA Finals for the first time since 1999. And the city absolutely lost its mind. But here's where I want to give KT his real credit. Because the finals against the San Antonio Spurs is where the old narrative would have surfaced. San Antonio is a smart, physical, defensively disciplined team. This was not going to be a sweep. Game 1 in San Antonio Knicks win 105-95. KAT is everywhere. Not just scoring, rebounding, defending, making the right reads, setting the tone. Game 2, 105-104, 1 point, final seconds. Knicks hold on. In a game that close, your best player has to be mentally present every single possession. KAT was there. Game 3 San Antonio, steals 1 at MSG, 115-111. And this is the moment. This is where, in years past, KAT might have gone quiet, where the old narrative might have whispered back, where a lesser version of this player disappears into the background and lets the moment get too big. Game 4, KAT answers. Clutch basket. Knicks win 107-106. Game 5, back in San Antonio, 94-90. Final buzzer, New York Knicks, 2026 NBA champion.
1971.
So let's talk about what this actually means, because this isn't just a feel-good story. This changes real things. First, the legacy. And I'm not being dramatic when I say this. The asterisk is gone. You can still debate where KAT ranks all time. You can have opinions about his earlier years in Minnesota, but the soft label, dead. The can't win narrative, buried. The disappears in big moments argument. He just had the biggest moment possible and showed up for all of it. Second, what this does to the league. KAT is not winding down. This isn't a veteran getting one last ring before retirement. He's in his prime, playing his best basketball on a team that is now built and proven. The Knicks just won a championship, and their core is young enough to do this again. Third, and this is the part I think matters most, what KAT just proved about the modern NBA big man. The conversation has always been that a shooting center can't be your alpha in the playoffs. That when games get tight, you need a guard or a wing to carry you. KAT just tore that argument apart. 7 feet tall, elite shooter, playoff champion, the template just changed. Legacy isn't built in the regular season. It never is. It's built in the moments where everything is on the line, the pressure is real, and the whole world is waiting to see if you fold. Karl-Anthony Towns did not fold. He came to the hardest sports market in America. He silenced a decade of noise. He won the whole thing. And that changes everything about how we talk about him now and forever. Here's the debate I'll leave you with, because we don't do easy endings on this channel. Does this championship put Karl-Anthony Towns in the conversation for top 10 big men in NBA history? Or does the time it took the Minnesota years, the doubts, the near misses keep him just outside that tier? Drop your answer in the comments. I genuinely want to know where you land. And if you haven't subscribed yet, come on. Hit subscribe, hit the bell, and go watch our breakdown of how Jalen Brunson quietly became the best point guard in the Eastern Conference. Because trust me, that story connects directly to everything we just talked about. Karl-Anthony Towns just changed his legacy forever. We were here to see it.